Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, MC Matador here, back from my long-winded vacation. Got back probably 4 or 5 days ago. Been running into issues setting up for college. It's going to be happening in just about a week from today. I move in. Otherwise, today I'm bringing you my Kentucky Kingdom synopsis. The first park I visited on my 3-park tour to Kentucky Kingdom, Dollywood, and Holiday World. I'll bring the other 2 videos up separately because compared to other vacations, it took a lot of time to notice the quirks and details of these parks, more so than other trips. So I'm bringing you a more in-depth synopsis a la my Silver Dollar City one from June. Or July, because that's probably when it was uploaded. First impressions, I got there at opening. Mild wait to get in because, there was a line. It was a Saturday. It was a beautiful Saturday as well. Sunny, maybe some clouds in the sky, no rain. I noticed immediately that it didn't have metal detectors at the entrance. They still checked your bags before they scanned your tickets, but no, I haven't been to Great America so many times and haven't been to other parks to do the same thing. I'm just very interested in the fact that they don't have metal detectors. I also, as soon as you get in, there's a fountain on a very large sign. It says Kentucky Kingdom Hurricane Harbor. Good photo op, and I took my chances and got one. I also noticed I was using, the first thing to say is that I was using the out-of-state promotion, which I'll mention about several other times. It's a $40 ticket for any day, which gives you access to free drinks throughout the entire day. And a second day if you want to come back, which I wasn't able to, unfortunately. And I made my way after getting a drink straight to Lightning Run, which I'll go into brief depth about every single ride I went on in order. Starting well, Lightning Run. Why the heck have more parks not built more of these? Why haven't parks built more of these? Please. They're compact, decent capacity, affordable, thrilling machines. Airtime is on laterals, fantastic, comfortable, relentless. This ride is just super good, and I was not expecting to be as good as it was. And for a good chunk of the morning, I was able to get 2 or 3 rides on it first thing in the morning before going on to my next ride just because it had a station wait. And the crowds picked up later in the day, so I alternated this between this and the next coaster, and this thing has put itself firmly in my top 20, and is the 3rd best coaster I rode on my 3-park trip. This thing is excellent. I'll probably make a full review of some of the better coasters in this list, eventually, because my review series, I'm probably going to change them a bit. Just probably cover the good stuff more so than the stuff. Moving on, we have Storm Chaser, the RMC of the park. Now, if you watch the POV from Storm Chaser's debut year in 2016, you wouldn't think very highly of this ride. I don't know what they did, but the POVs look very, very different than how the ride actually rides in 2019. Every single element, all the way from that turnaround barrel roll drop, all the way to the trick track double up, double down, helix with the high banking 90-degree banking turn, every single element and in between as well is jam-packed with forces, laterals, and beautiful, oh so beautiful ejector airtime. There are at least 4 or 5 trick track moments on the ride, which makes the airtime particularly violent. And it does also warm up as the day progresses as well. I was able to get a ride on this thing probably within an hour or 2 after the ride opened, and I was able to get the thing before, probably my last ride before the park closed. Well, I actually left at 7, and the park closed at 9. It's super good. Storm Chaser, I don't know what they've done to it, but it probably is the best maintained, most well-running RMC I've seen in a very long time. And is a high-tier RMC beating the likes of Outlaw Run, Wicked Cyclone, Goliath, and Twisted Colossus. And has firmly put itself in my top 10. So, very, very good ride. I would highly recommend anyone to it, and it's honestly, it's super good. I love this thing. I love Storm Chaser. I will say that one of the things they tried to do, though, is that the restraints aren't very, as per usual, RMC restraints are not very friendly towards people with larger waistbands or larger guts or whatever it is, large people. I'm trying to be correct about this one, politically correct, sort of. And I did notice that there was a unusually high amount of those in Kentucky that wanted to try and ride, and the ride ops would try their hardest to put them into the ride as safely as possible. So that often put a damper on this ride's operations, and we'll get onto that later. Storm Chaser otherwise is an absolutely fantastic ride. I also do want to say I lost my $45 portable charger on this ride, which I'm perfectly fine with because I got a new one because I told my mother and she was like, oh, I'm going to come through for you. So be very wary having loose articles on this ride. Also, another thing with Lightning Run and Storm Chaser is that unless your glasses or sunglasses have straps, you are forbidden from riding the ride with sunglasses or glasses without straps. So they will like actually get on you to take them off. They do have bins, which people don't know how to use for all their rides. Actually, they have bins for all of their rides. But I found it odd that I couldn't take my very tight-fitting free pair of sunglasses that I didn't care if I lost onto Storm Chaser or Lightning Run. I had to put them in my side pocket of my cargo shorts. So very interesting. A RIP phone charger, but I got a new one that is more reliable for what I own. So yay, but also no. Next up, we went to Thunder Run, which I only did once because it was running one train somehow for the entire day. It's like Hurler, very similar to Hurler at Carowinds. I'm pretty sure they were made by similar manufacturers at a similar time. But this thing actually has like positive forces and airtime and good laterals, unlike Hurler. I was only able to ride this once, like I said, because, you know, it was running one train for the entire day. And I think this is a really good wooden coaster in all regards. I mean, the operations are definitely put a wrench in my ambitions to ride it more than once in more than one seat. Would have loved to have done it in the actual front or closer to the back or whatever. I think I still got a really good ride on it. And I will say it is a little rough around the edges. It's not perfect, but it's still a really good wooden coaster, and I would definitely rate it positively. Next up, we have T3. Just this big old hunk of bright red garbage. I knew it was going to be bad, but I had my younger cousin and my younger brother with me. They bailed on the ride just by looking at it. And I probably should have taken it as the omen, but I decided to go for the credit. It's not, it's not the worst ride I've ever been on. I don't know, I forgot the negative. It's not the worst ride I've ever been on. Sorry, I mean, it's still really bad, like bottom 10. But it's definitely a blight on Kentucky Kingdom's fantastic lineup. And even the social media team at the park loves playing fun on T3. It's one of the few remaining coasters from the Six Flags era. It used to be T2, and they gave it new restraints. The restraints, yes, the rumors are true. They do come down further on your thighs and cut off circulation. They are one of the few restraints I got on the ride and genuinely didn't know how to work with them. Because the previous rider was petite, and the shoulder straps were kind of like locked in from their shoulders, and me being 6'2" and broad-shouldered, I had a crew member was like, "Okay, can you come and fix this?" It's also got like weird buttons on the handlebars. The restraints are just very odd, not good. I have no remorse if Kentucky Kingdom decided to axe this thing for a modern looping coaster, say like an S&S or a modern day Vekoma. Maybe not a B&M, but definitely I think an S&S would be a great idea for this park, like an S&S looping coaster, like a downsized steel curtain. Well, I know Ed Hart went into a launch coaster, but still. Kentucky Flyer is the last ride I decided to do the park counterclockwise, going from Lightning Run to Kentucky Flyer at the end, and I was honestly a little disappointed. I was expecting a bit more oomph in every category. A bit more forces, a bit more smoothness, a bit more power, a bit more airtime than what I actually got. Like, it also has a weird jingle. It sounds like you're riding on a sleigh, but that's more of a nitpick than anything. It's still a solid ride, and I'd love to see all sorts of kids in the areas be introduced to coasters this way. It's still quite smooth, good airtime in the back row, really good ride for ages like 7 to 70 or something like that. It's really good ride. So I do considerably prefer the considerably rougher Thunder Run to this, and this was sadly a one and done for me. I wanted to try it again in the front, but honestly, I think I had enough with it. It was good, but overall, I think Kentucky Flyer was a little disappointing, but it's still a good ride nonetheless. I do also want to talk about some of the flat rides I went on, like I didn't make a slide for it. I did go on, I think, 3 different flat rides. I went on Fearfall, their Larson Drop Tower. That was a shorter version of Giant Drop, considering how much punch it packed. It packed a lot of punch in the drop, and I think it was just the forces were considerably equal to Intamin's second-gen drop towers along the lines of Giant Drop. I also did breakdance, a Husk breakdance, as I had never done one, and I wanted to see what it was all about, and I was disappointed. The loading times were abysmal because of the restraint system, and the forces weren't as good as I was expecting them to be. And I also did Scream Extreme, which I actually quite enjoyed. Scream Extreme is a fantastic ride. I would love to see Zamperla Endeavors in more parks as time progresses. And I think that I would, like, even Great America should be getting a Zamperla Endeavor, probably a Zamperla Endeavor 48 rather than a 24. But still, I would love to see more of those. I got my first Endeavor experience, and I would highly recommend it to anybody, especially for the Enterprise fans. It's a perfect. It's somehow even more forceful than the Enterprises, and it's so open as well. Next up, I have some complaints with the park. You know, not every park is perfect. I had a few issues. Yeah, the operations was the biggest one. I kind of inclined to it a little bit on Storm Chaser's slide, but it was a consistent plague on the park to where operations were not really up to snuff, especially on rides like Storm Chaser and Lightning Run. Their 2 biggest ones had poor operations. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that T3 was also running 1 train all day. I don't know if it can run with 2. I'm almost confident Thunder Run can, but I don't know if T3 can run with 2 trains. But yes, both Thunder Run and T3 are running 1 train the whole game. Or the whole day. And yeah. It needs work. I don't know if I ever saw a dispatch that was less than 90 seconds. Like, it was kind of embarrassing, especially Storm Chaser. I remember seeing like 4 or 5 minute dispatches on Storm Chaser, especially when they were having issues with guests that were too short or guests that were oversized and couldn't fit in the restraints. Like, people were very weird and very bizarre and aggressive sometimes when they got told they were too big or too short. But basically, yeah, I don't know. There was some interesting stuff. The operations were a consistent complaint, though. They were consistently disappointing. The trains were often stacked for at least 30 seconds at a time, oftentimes more. And, I mean, it wasn't too impactful on my day, however, because most people were in the water park on it was a pretty hot Saturday, sunny Saturday like I'd imagined. They also do have free sunscreen in the water park, so yay, free sunscreen. A few minor complaints also came in the food and the characters somehow. The food was a bit more expensive, $20 for hard chicken tenders and mediocre fries. I thought it'd probably be I probably would have paid like 8 or 10 for it, but I was expecting it to be like 20% cheaper given that Kentucky Kingdom's a medium-sized park. But kind of makes up for it that I got free drinks with my out-of-state promotion. And I also did want to try and meet King Louis at some point in the day in the park because I'm an avid character hunter and I loved his story on the Save Our Park documentary from Coaster Studios, which actually that does play in a gift shop right at the exit of the 4D Theater by Scream Extreme at probably the 15-minute mark of every hour, where his story is that he was rescued from the amphitheater in Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom. He was found in a box, thrown out behind the park so he didn't get the dumpster treatment, and just kind of was driven out of the park like a bat from hell, and lived in dormancy in an apartment complex for the next 10 years until he played a pivotal role in being a marketable asset of the reopening of Kentucky Kingdom incentive and drive. So I would love to have met that piece of history right there, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to. I think he was only out once, just shortly after the park opened, like 10:30, 11 a.m., which I was already doing lightning run rounds by then. I had no experience, but it's a bummer, but not trip ruining. I would love to have met him. Overall, what are my thoughts? The value is extremely good. Is my best thing about this park. I love the value I got of this thing. $40. We're just over $40 with some processing fees, taxes, and whatnot. For a great collection of coasters, 2 of which make my top 20, and free drinks for being the out-of-state marketing program. A lot of people were taking advantage of the out-of-state marketing program, the ticket program. It was a huge success, and I loved seeing the very large crowds that were running or walking around the park. given the history of Kentucky Kingdom. It just made me smile knowing this park is in the past 5 years from a fledgling reopening park that coming out of the recession from Six Flags shafted it to a signature icon of the downtown Louisville area that people will flock to day in and day out. I loved it. It wasn't trashy. It wasn't run down. The park looked decent. It had some nice spots for shade if one needed rest. I would highly recommend anyone to come here if possible. I wouldn't really come from across the country. I'd rather, if you're going to come from across the country, go to some of the bigger parks. But if you're in the Ohio Valley Loop, which I like to call it, which is where Kings Island, Kentucky Kingdom, and Holiday World all are within 2 hours apart from each other, I would love to. I would highly recommend anybody to complete that loop. Not just or just if they're going to Kings Island, just swing by over here. It's less than 2 hours just on an interstate. You just got to get from Cincinnati to Louisville. Just take one interstate and you're pretty much there. So, yeah. And I also could definitely want to try and imagine what the crowds and what marathons I could have gotten on the rides had I went on a weekday or if I went on a more overcast day. And I also didn't mention how many rides I got on Lightning Run. Lightning Rod's coming later. And Storm Chaser, since I honestly didn't even know how many rides I got on them. I lost count after about 5. I know for each one, I don't know which one I rode more because they're about equal, but I know I have them both pegged for about 5 to 10 rides each. I might say probably 7 or 8 rides each. Both rides are excellent, and the crowds were relatively manageable all day. I did not see their sea lion show. I think you can see it from a bit on the side, but it didn't really interest me. But yeah, this park is great, and I would love to see it succeed even more as time passes. I'd love to see them keep expanding. I'd love to see them do more things. I know they're very landlocked, but they do very well for what they have. And I'm very proud of them. Just in 5 years, they've gone, like I said, from a fledgling park to a Louisville icon that people will travel all over the Midwest and Southeast for. It's incredible. I can only imagine how this park is going to be around Derby season or Kentucky State Fair season. Louisville's got a lot of stuff in it. So yeah, that's my overall thoughts of Kentucky Kingdom. Like I said, fantastic park that I would highly recommend anyone to go to. I have no regrets going there. If you guys have enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscription. It does mean something to me. I hope you guys have a great insert unit of time here, especially since my summer is going to be coming to a close within a week. And as always, I wish you guys peace.